Hello everyone, it's Adrian and you're welcome back to the channel where I talk about my unfiltered thoughts and opinions that nobody asked for. If that sounds like something that you're into, like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get into today's episode. You know what one of the easiest things to do is? Giving people advice. Literally, like giving people advice has got to be one of the easiest things to do because when you're not in the midst of a messy and unfortunate situation, it's always so easy for you to be like, if I were you, I would have done this, I would have done that. If I would be met by this kind of situation, I would do this, I would do that. I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that. It's always easy for you to be like, this is what I would do. Or if I were you, when somebody tells you something that happened to them, an unfortunate event that happened to them, and they tell you what they did and maybe it wasn't the best decision, it's always so easy for us to judge them and be like, why did you do that? Like, why would you do that? If I were to be you, if I were you, I would have done this, I would have done that, because this is the most logical thing to do, And it's funny because when you are in the midst of that situation or that messy situation, most people don't think with their heads. Most people, it's not easy for people to like think rationally and make rational decisions. Most people think with their emotions. If you're in the mix of like some chaotic situation and you're like emotional, chances are you're gonna make decisions based on how you feel. Whether you're angry or sad or disappointed, like most of the time you're gonna make decisions based on how you feel. And that is not good. Most of the time when you make decisions solely based on how you feel, chances are you're gonna make a poor and a really bad decision. It's just easier to make poor decisions when you are emotional because again, you're not thinking with your head. It's not easy for you to think rationally when you're angry or you're sad or all that kind of stuff. It's always easy for you to make decisions based on how you feel rather than what you think and what is actually good for you, because again, you're sad, you're angry, you're emotional, and that's not good. That's why when I'm in that space, I don't like to make decisions. I don't like to do anything. I don't even like to say anything. Most of the time I just like to be quiet and shut up. But when somebody comes up to you and tells you, this is what I did, it's always easy for us to like look from the outside and like judge them, like, that is so dumb, why would you do that, why would you say that, that is not right. If I were you, I would have done this. And again, it's easy for us to judge those people, but when you're in the midst of that, it's never easy. And it's always easy for us to judge other people and think that they were crazy for making that decision or saying certain things. But then when we're hit with the same reality where we have to now face those same situations, and realities, we then find ourselves making the same decisions that the other people made, the same decisions that we were judging the other people for. And it's so funny because a lot of people can be like, oh, I can never do this, I can never do that, I would never do that when I'm in this situation, but then they get hit by the same situation. They even do worse. Again, it's easy for us to give advice and tell people what to do with their lives or what they could have done better when we're not in it, because again, it's also easy for us to think rationally when we are outside of a situation. When we're looking at a situation from a different point of view, and a point of view that's not emotional. Now you're thinking with your brain, with your mind, with your head, and you're able to think more clearly and rationally because you're not in the situation. It doesn't really have anything to do with you, so it's always easy for you to be like, oh, this is what I would do. But when you're in the midst of that, it's not always easy to make the right decision, and it can always be easy for you to like make poor decisions based on how you feel and not what is actually right for you. And as someone who sometimes gives advice on here, I'm not some kind of like therapist, let me put it out there. I'm not some kind of educated therapist. Not every single thing that I talk about on here, it's only based on my experiences and my opinions and what I think. So sometimes I'll throw in some advice here and there based on my own experiences and what I've experienced and what I think to be true and what I believe to be true. So sometimes I'll give advice here and there. And again, it's easy for me to do that, to say that, to give you advice and tell you this is what you should be doing with your life, this is what's right, this is what's wrong if I'm not in your situation. So take every single thing that take every single thing that I say on here with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, I'm still human. Everyone has their own experiences. My own experiences don't have to be your own. Everyone is different. So always take every single thing that I say on here with a grain of salt. You also have to have that ability to be able to like think for yourself and have your own judgment. But again, it's easy for me to always give you advice and tell you do this, do that, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, if I'm not in your situation. But then if I were to be in your situation, chances are there's like a high chance for me to like make a different decision, if you know what I mean. And again, as someone who gives advice here a lot, sometimes I think it can be quite hard for me or anyone else who really gives advice to take their own advice. Again, it's easy to tell people what to do when they are in like certain situations. It's also not easy for you to take that same advice that you're giving to people when you're met with those same experiences and those same situations, because man, I think I need to start taking my own advice. And it's not like I do, but again, it's easy for you to tell people do this, do that. Also, it can be quite hard for you to like take your own advice, because why do I come here sometimes and tell you you should have more grace for yourself? There's a video that I did like weeks ago, and I was like talking about that, the fact that you should have more grace for yourself and go easy on yourself. It's okay for you to be ambitious and have all these goals and really like push yourself to the max and push your limits and boundaries of what you're capable of doing, which is good. It's good advice. You should do that. But why am I telling you to have more grace for yourself? But also when it comes to me, I don't do the same. I'm not even joking. Like, I'm being serious. Sometimes I'm like telling people in here, like, you need to have more grace for yourself and go easy on yourself. Have more compassion for yourself. But then when it comes to me, I'm like, when I'm not doing something that I know that I'm supposed to be doing, and it's not like I'm being mean to myself. No, I'm not being mean. I have so much respect for myself, but it can also be quite hard for me to find that same level of compassion for myself that I'm telling you to have for yourself, if you know what I mean. It can be easy for me to be like, have more compassion for yourself. Don't always judge yourself. But then I come back to myself and I do something that maybe wasn't right. Then I start to judge myself. Then I start to like not have the same level of compassion for myself, if you know what I mean. So I think it's always right for us to take the same advice that we give to other people. It might not be easy to do, but why are you preaching about something that you're not following yourself, including myself? Like, why would I be talking about the things that you should be doing with yourself and like having more compassion for yourself, but then not going ahead and doing that with me? And that's obviously something that I've learned to get better at. Before it was not good, like it wasn't good, but now I'm glad that I'm in a place where I'm able to like have more compassion for myself, like tell you to have more compassion for yourself, but also turn that to me, and for me to like learn to have more compassion for myself the same way that I tell you to have compassion for yourself. And it has been quite great, because I don't know if this is gonna come as me being I don't know if this is gonna come out as me having some sort of like big ego, but I don't care. I'm gonna say it as it is. But sometimes, and again, I've talked about this before a lot, but I'm an actor, okay? And if you're an actor, you know, there's always lots of acting classes always going on. You know, you do acting classes, you do self tapes, and when you do self tapes, you always have to watch them back and like edit and see what you did right and see what you did wrong. And I know you might think that this has nothing to do with this topic, but just bear with me, you know? You have to like watch yourself and like listen to yourself over and over again. And something about me is that I don't know about other actors. With me, I do not like to listen to myself. I don't like to listen to my voice. It's not like I hate it. I don't necessarily hate it, but it just, I cringe. I used to cringe at the idea of like watching myself or listening to my own voice. So with acting, you have to do this thing where whether you like it or not, you have to constantly watch yourself over and over again. Every single time you do a self tape, whether it's for like acting class or an audition, you have to listen to yourself over and over again. Constantly listen to your voice. Also, watch yourself because you have to edit and see what you did right and what you did wrong for the acting audition, whatever. And with that, I've been doing that for years now, but with me, because of YouTube now, and I have to like film and edit and watch myself over and over again, like every single day, every single time I have to edit and listen to my own voice. It has gone to this point where I've kind of like gotten used to it now. Like listening to myself and listening to my own voice and watching myself has gotten easier to the point where now I'm able to like go back and edit and not cringe out and not feel like, oh, that's cringe, why do I sound like that, and start like judging myself like, why would you do that. Now I've gone to a point where because of doing it again and again and again because of YouTube, now I have to like, when I'm doing self tapes or when I'm doing YouTube, I have to constantly watch myself and listen to my own voice. Now that voice of like me judging myself it's pretty much gone. I don't really judge myself anymore when I like watch back my videos or listen to my own voice, because whether I like it or not, that's all I've been doing for years now, and that's all I'm gonna continue to do, whether I like it or not. Whether that's like with acting or YouTube, whether I like it or not, I'm gonna have to watch myself over and over and over again because that's what I do. Also, I'm gonna have to listen to my voice over and over again, and because of that, I've grown to like, I've gotten used to it now. I don't, it doesn't bother me anymore. I'm able to like look, I can be able to like watch myself and watch my own videos and listen to my own voice and not cringe out. And because of that, it's quite easy for me to like take my own advice, because I don't know if you journal or not, but with people who journal and you like write some advice and things like that in your journal, it's easy for you to like go back to that and read that and like be able to like do some kind of self-reflection work and be able to like take your own advice that way. But with me, what I like to do is watch myself. And I know that's so weird. You might be like, oh dude, who do you think you are? Like, who watches their own videos? I do. I have to. I don't have a choice. But sometimes with the advice that I already give on here, I have to like go back and watch that and take that same advice that I like give to you guys and like take it myself. Because why are you giving that advice to people and telling people what they should do, and also you not being able to like put that into practice in your own life? So sometimes when I'm feeling down, or maybe I don't feel that confident, whatever happens, you know, sometimes when I'm like not in the best headspace in my own life, in my own personal life, maybe there's something going on, or for whatever reason, you know, I always go back to my own videos that I post on here and listen to them and watch them, because let me tell you, it has gotten to be one of the most comforting things that I've experienced so far. Again, now because I've gotten used to like watching myself and listening to my own voice, I don't look at myself on like in my phone and like watch my own videos and be like, oh, that's myself. Listen to my voice, like that sounds weird. Why did I do that? Why did I act like that? I don't do that anymore. I don't judge myself again because I have to do that every day, and now I've gotten used to it. But now I don't do that anymore. I'm able to just like listen to my own advice and watch my own videos, and my brain has a way of like blocking that out. Because when I'm watching myself, I don't watch myself and judge myself anymore. It's weird because I know that's me that I'm watching, but in a way, in a way, my brain has a way of like making me feel like that's not me. I know it's me. I'm watching myself and listening to myself, but it has a way of making me feel like that's a different guy. I'm like, I don't know who that guy is, but I like it. I like his advice. I like what he's saying right now. And I know it's myself again. It might come off as me having a big ego and being obsessed with myself, but I can promise you that that's not the case. It's just I find this level of comfort from me watching my own videos and taking my own advice. Again, it can be so easy for me to like give it, but it's not always the easiest thing for me to take my own advice. So when I need that motivation or advice or to be comforted, I will watch one of the episodes that I post on here and listen to that, and it always motivates me. Again, it's so weird because I'm listening to myself and watching my own videos, but again, it just brings me a different level of comfort and confidence, and I don't know, it just always comforts me. It just always does. So that way it's also easy for me to take my own advice, because if you have it written somewhere or recorded somewhere, whether it's video or audio format, it can be quite easy for you to like go back to it and watch your own advice. So when I'm like having a crazy day and like not in the best mental state, I will watch my own videos. I will, because some of the views here, I don't think it's because of other people keep watching them. It's because I keep watching them, and not because I'm trying to like get any views or more views or anything like that. But it's because sometimes I need that same advice that I try to give on here, and I'm like, ooh, I have a video. I talked about that already. Let me watch that, and I will watch it again and again and again, and it will just bring me this sense of comfort and confidence, and I'm like, yeah, I needed to hear that for myself. That's good. So if you're someone who wants to make that process of like taking your own advice easier, I think it could be a good idea for you to like do the same thing that I'm doing, like record yourself giving that advice, then watch it and then take it, because it's easier that way. Or you can journal it and just like write it somewhere in your journal, and you can you'll be able to like go back to that and read it and be able to like, I guess, motivate yourself and remind yourself of that same thing that you might be showing, you might be falling showed on, whether that's like confidence or anything like that. And I don't know, it's just something that I wanted to share and talk about, because I don't know, it's comforting. Some people find it weird, but I don't find it weird anymore. You know, being an actor, you have to be in front of the camera all the time. Same thing with YouTube, you have to be in front of the camera all the time. So the moment you do that over and over again, it just gets to this point where you just get used to it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's something that had been on my mind for quite a while now, and I just wanted to talk about it. You know, if you're someone who likes to give advice, that's good, that's amazing, but make sure that you also get to take your own advice that you give to other people, because it can be easy to like to tell people to do this and do that, and then taking that same advice and applying it in your own life, it's a different thing when you're faced by the same situation. So yes, take your own advice. You know, stop always going out here telling people what to do and what not to do with their lives, because that's easy to do, but do you do the same thing? Do you practice the same things that you preach about? If not, it's time for you to fix that. Yeah, it's something that I wanted to share and talk about. And yeah, I don't want to make this episode super long. That's all I have to say for today's episode. I love you as always. Take good care of yourself. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this little hangout session, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you, and yeah, I love you. Take care of yourself. Kisses. Yeah, that's cringe, but I also don't care. I'll see you on the next one.